Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Su. So today I want to share about my thought on note taking. So when it comes to note taking, I believe there are four major types. The first one, I call it I know everything style. These are the students who have extensive knowledge base, who already know or familiar with 80% or more of the contents that's being discussed in class, so they really don't feel the need to write down anything. Their memory is big enough to remember the little more new information in there. So they really, to be honest, I don't believe they really need any note taking. And then the second type, I call them public note taker. I call this public is because the note that those students take are so in detail so that everybody, even who didn't attend the lecture, can understand the material. So this style involves writing down as much as information as possible. And this can be great for whoever reading the note. Other students read the note, but for the note taker, it might be a little bit time consuming to review them because you might write down a lot of things that you already know. And when you review them, you have to review these things again, right? And then the third type, I call them private note taker. So this style is more personal, and the note written are there to serve the individual who took them, and often include only the content that is hard to remember, or that is confusing, or likely to forgotten. These notes might be not useful to others. Sometimes if others trying to read them, they may be not able to figure out what is in a note, right? But they are really efficient for the note taker to review because the notes are only focused on the materials that need a reinforcement later, right? And the fourth type, I call them the overwhelmers. These are students who feel overwhelmed in class. They thought they have to read every single detail the professors say. However, by doing so, they sometimes miss what the professor was saying. And then they just keep them busy, and then eventually they feel overwhelmed and they give up on note taking completely. If you find yourself in this group, I think I can figure out so far by my knowledge, I think there might be two reasons. The first one, you're trying to write down too many irrelevant content. Second, you might lack the foundation knowledge necessarily for this lecture. If this is the case, you probably think drop this course and take the course that require for this course, or like maybe not required, but you feel you need those information, and then take those courses first and come back to take this course later. If you can think of other reasons, feel free to share. So far, this is the major reason that I can think of that causing people to feel overwhelmed, not take note in class. Okay, now let's take a look at an example of note taking. So I have a paragraph. It said, on a sunny day, beautiful afternoon with a light breeze, Tom sat in his favorite big fluffy chair, eating a super sweet, crispy, golden, delicious apple, which he had bought from the grocery store that morning. Okay, so this is a paragraph. If you're in a note taking, let's see what different style would note take on that. Okay, first, if you're I know everything style, it's probably a little bit hard for you to remember everything in here, even you familiar with everything in here, because there are a lot of things in here. You might need some notes, right? And then the overwhelmers, they will try to read every single word and even in the exact sequence. So I figure when that mindset comes to me, it's really hard to take note. I feel overwhelmed, then I'll give up. Okay, so let's move to the next one, the public note taker. They will note who did what, along with some details of the description of time, location, and action, but they wouldn't take note on exactly the same sequence as the paragraph, like talk about the afternoon first and then Tom sit in chair, stuff like that. They will just briefly write down things. There may be some details that get neglected, but still they will have a lot of details in there. And then the private note taker. and I am tend to be a private note taker. So what they will do or what I will do is I'll just write Tom ate an apple in the afternoon. And this brief sentences is good enough to trigger my memory because after reading this paragraph, I have a beautiful scene in my mind, so I can pull out a lot of memory just by this sentences. Tom ate an apple in the afternoon. So I think when we take note, all four styles are mixed together. Depend on the course we're taking, right? Sometimes we feel overwhelmed. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I don't need to take note, and sometimes we're public or sometimes we're private. But in general, I think private note taker will speed up your learning, will save a lot of time. So for me, I tend not to write down things that I can remember. And if I can have access to the PowerPoint of the course, I definitely not going to write anything that is already in there. I'll just mark things or circle things that I have hard time to understand. And then when I review, I know where to go. So this is just my opinion about note taking. Feel free to share yours and you have a good day. See you next time.